Is it a good idea to pick a fight with a whole bunch of lawyers, especially the largest voluntary bar association in the country? Well, that's what the president just did, and got it to the point that it's now on the local level. Hi, I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, and this is The Breakdown. If you're enjoying the content on this channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button right down there so that you can stay up to date on all the crazy happenings coming out of this presidential administration. So this is some breaking news coming out of the state of Florida. So now the Florida Supreme Court has halted the Florida bar's role in making appointments to the American Bar Association's policy-making panel. So that was a mouthful. Let me break that down for you. All right. So first off, let me explain who and what the American Bar Association is. Now, full disclosure and in full candor, I am a member of the American Bar Association and I'm actually in leadership. I am speaking about this in my personal capacity. I am making no statements on behalf of the ABA. But in case anybody Googled, yes, I am a part of the ABA, as well as being a part of the Florida Bar. Okay, so the ABA is an organization that was founded back in 1878. Its goal is the commitment to set the legal and ethical foundation for the American nation. They are the largest voluntary bar association in the country. So, in other words, attorneys from all around the country pay dues on an annual basis, and they gather in different sections to be able to go to conferences, to network, and most importantly, to get continuing legal education credit, because that's something that's required by basically every bar in the country, right? You've got to go take these classes or else you basically lose your license, which you don't want to do that. It took a lot of work to get there. So there's that. Now, also, they play some other roles. They review candidates for federal judgeships because these are lifetime appointments. They look at the person's background and talk about their expertise, their knowledge, their education, and whether or not they're fit to serve. They've done this under Republican administrations and they've done this under Democratic administrations. First of all, ABA is nonpartisan. So they're not like, okay, we're going to, be gung-ho when it's Democratic appointees, and we're going to not recommend anybody on the Republicans or anything like that. They literally are like, is this person a qualified judge? Yes or no? Period, end of story. They don't care about political affiliation or anything like that. So that's been one of their big roles. Another big role is that they accredit law schools. So you want to go to an ABA accredited law school because, again, it shows that you had a certain level of education. Now, it's not as like, oh, did you go to Harvard? No, it's a matter of, did this law school adequately prepare you to be a lawyer, right? Or is it kind of some fly-by-night type of deal? So obviously you want to, if you're going to make this huge investment to become an attorney, you're going to spend a ton of money in tuition and all of that. You want to make sure that you go to a good school and have the tools that you need to be successful as an attorney. So that is what the ABA does and what they're about. Now, of course, as a result of the insanity that's now going on in DC, and also because of the fact that the ABA has played a role in some of the lawsuits against this administration on the grounds of democracy, right? So they're looking at, we don't want attorneys to be bullied. We don't want organizations to now basically have to close their doors as a result of this willy-nilly pulling of federal funding, right? So those are the types of things they get involved in. It's not like, oh, we hate the president. It's, hey, there's an issue that is going to be damaging to our democracy and damaging to the legal profession, so we need to weigh in. Well, the Florida Supreme Court decided to be like, listen, there was no matter in front of them. They just basically woke up one day and was like, you know what? I want to do something for the president. So they went ahead and created this order, drafted this order, and sent it to the Florida Bar and said, you can no longer participate with the ABA's policymaking panel. Now, their policymaking panel is called the House of Delegates. What happens at the House of Delegates, you have representatives from every single state in the country, and there will be discussions in terms of what sorts of policies should the ABA adopt, what sort of positions should the ABA take on various legal problems. And it's one of those things that gets heavily debated. Like, think of it like Congress. It's like that on steroids with just attorneys talking about legal issues. That's what the ABA House of Delegates is. So every state appoints members to the House of Delegates. The Florida Supreme Court is now telling the Florida bar, nah, don't appoint anybody else to the ABA House of Delegates, because we feel that, quote unquote, the bar needs to stop entangling itself, even indirectly, in contentious policy debates. Okay, because literally that's what lawyers do. Our entire job is having contentious debates. That's what you do in the courtroom. That's literally what we do. And so this, of course, just defies logic. And of course, the Chief Justice of the Florida Supreme Court, Carlos Muniz, said that many of the ABA's policies take positions on contested political and policy disputes over which reasonable people can and do disagree. Which is why you have reasonable people from all different political persuasions, from different states, rural, big city, all of that, to be able to hash out some of these issues. And then a vote is taken, and sometimes policies get voted down, and sometimes policies become the policy of the ABA. That's what the debate is for. So, yeah, now the Florida bar is stuck like Chuck, and they can no longer appoint people to the House of Delegates. And, just to also get the scope of this, the Florida bar is responsible for Florida's more than 114,000 lawyers, which I'm one, Dave Arenberg is one, Popok's one, right? Like, we're all involved in the Florida bar. And so now this means that if we wanted to be, hypothetically, appointed to the House of Delegates of the ABA, we could not do so through the state of Florida. We'd have to find another means to be able to let our voice be heard or to be involved in that particular instance. So the timing of this, we can't ignore, because this is 2 weeks after the presidential administration decided to get rid of the special access that the ABA had from forever to be able to review federal judicial candidates. Because again, he kept putting forward people that were not even remotely qualified, and the ABA is like, dude, person's been practicing law for like 5 minutes. They're not fit to be on the federal bench and then serve a lifetime, right? Like this, you get on the job training, but this is a whole nother level. You've got to at least have tried a case, seen the inside of a courtroom, before you actually sit on the bench and are now making decisions that are going to impact people's lives, impact the law for decades and generations to come. Like, that's not something you do willy-nilly. That is something that has to be taken seriously. But this administration clearly is just like, hey, if you're loyal to me and you have the same worldview as me, boom, you're qualified. It has nothing to do with whether or not, you've tried a case, you have any experience, or you've done anything towards the service of the legal field. So pretty unfortunate that the push for ideological cohesion is more important than democracy. I will note that there was one justice that was like, I'm not about this life, and that is Justice Jorge Labarga. Now, he was appointed by then Governor Charlie Crist. He was a Republican at the time that he was appointed. Justice Labarga is a Republican, but he's like, I can't co-sign this foolishness, because he's just like, what is this foolishness? Basically, sum and substance. He said it in a much more eloquent way, but sum and substance. So, but do you think the ABA is bothered? No, because on June 16th, they filed a lawsuit to block the president's attack on law firms. The ABA said in the lawsuit that the president's actions had made it more difficult to find law firms willing to represent, litigation that's adverse to the federal government. So basically, nobody wants to get involved in any lawsuits that's adverse to the government because they're afraid of backlash. And part of that includes cases that challenge the immigration policies of this administration, which means there are people whose lives literally hang in the balance. And people are afraid, and attorneys are afraid to represent them due to backlash because they don't want their firm to be labeled. They don't want to lose contracts. They don't want to lose access that they need to be able to be competitive. And so this is very perturbing, just again, in terms of democracy. It's perturbing in terms of firms having the ability to pick and choose what cases they want to get involved in, that kind of autonomy. And so they were like, no, we're suing. So they're basically unbothered. Now, of course, the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, is threatening the ABA further by saying she's going to strip their ability to accredit law schools. Okay. But again, this is my constant reminder that elections have consequences. So here we are. The Florida Supreme Court has done something to kowtow to the president, and in the balance is harming democracy and is harming the legal profession. Sound off in the comments. Let me know what you think. I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, and this was The Breakdown. Take care.
Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.